Wonder Man is the newest Marvel show released on Disney+, and this time around, instead of doing weekly releases, they dropped the whole show at once, which definitely works in its favor. I really like this show.
Hey, that's pretty good.
It's a change of pace from the normal Marvel shows, and it's really refreshing. Instead of getting a rush plot with a bunch of dumb fight scenes at the end, we get a very grounded and well-written story. This show is about Simon, who is pursuing a career in acting, and he has the chance to land a once-in-a-lifetime role as Wonder Man, which is a reboot of a movie from the 80s in the Marvel Universe. He becomes friends with Trevor, who is working with the Department of Damage Control, so he doesn't have to serve prison time because of his past actions acting as the Mandarin. The biggest standout to me in this series was the acting. Simon and Trevor are a great duo, and every time they're on screen together, I'm never bored when they're together. Both actors deliver great performances, and their performances make me really feel for the characters. Another thing I really enjoyed was the story as a whole. It's written so well, and Simon as a character is so relatable. You feel whatever Simon's feeling in the show. There were plenty of times when I was laughing because of what Simon was doing. There were plenty of times that I was sad because of what happened to Simon. There were also plenty of times where I felt uncomfortable or awkward because of the situation Simon was in. And the themes that are explored, like self-acceptance, finding your identity, and redemption, are really well explored throughout the show. Simon is pursuing his dreams of becoming an actor, and he has many doubts about pursuing his dreams, mainly because of his family, but also he gets in his head a lot. He's afraid to show who he truly is because of his superpowers. He can't show who he truly is. If he did, then his whole life would get turned upside down and potentially ruin his life. I think they explore the concept of being who you truly are in a unique way. Instead of Simon mastering his powers and becoming a hero, he's learned that his powers are important, but they don't make up his whole sense of self. He's more than his powers. He's a person who loves, cares, stresses, and gets in his head a lot. These qualities about Simon make him so relatable and so likable as a character. What I appreciated about this series is that it's a superhero show with very little superpowers, which is an interesting choice, and I have mixed feelings about it, but overall, I think it works for me. We always focus on superheroes and their powers and how they get their powers and how their origin story is about them becoming a hero, but this is his origin story of him becoming himself. And focusing on the person behind the powers was a really fun time for me. Another big positive for me was the cinematography of the show. It's shot really well, and there are many scenes that keep you captivated because of the way that it was shot. It definitely has a different creative style than the rest of the MCU, and the main part of that is the soundtrack. I really like the soundtrack. It captures the show perfectly. I loved it, and I was dancing around a couple of times while I was watching the show. Again, it's just so nice and refreshing to see something different from Marvel. Another thing I really liked was the epilogue type of ending of the show, mainly the second half of the last episode, episode 8. It was really good, and I like how you can see Simon accepting himself through his powers. And honestly, I like how they don't reveal to you that Simon's gonna go save Trevor in the end. It was kind of a shock to me, and I really enjoyed that. And again, you can just see their connection. You can see how much Simon cares about Trevor by him coming to save him, and it really builds on that relationship, even in the ending.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on!
I like that there's no big CGI battle at the end that looks bad. It's very just happy and very grounded in its ending. Some negatives I had for the show was mainly that in the middle, it kind of dragged for me. Specifically episode 4, I feel like the whole backstory of why superheroes can't act anymore doesn't really need to be fleshed out at all into a whole episode, really. I don't care for Damar Davis, aka the Doorman. I mean, it's a fun story, but they don't flesh him out enough for me personally to care whenever his 15 minutes of fame are up and he loses his powers and gets in a whole bunch of trouble. I'm also just not a big fan of when a show has a whole episode that doesn't do anything to move the plot forward. I feel as though the episode could have been boiled down to a few lines about what happened and why superheroes aren't allowed to act anymore, and that would have been great for me. Also in episode 4, Josh Gad comes in and plays a fairly funny, fictionalized version of himself. But it just feels so weird to have him in the show at all, especially with the style of the show. Now, don't hear me say that it was bad or that it was a bad idea to put Josh Gad in. He made me laugh out loud plenty of times, mainly based on the absurdity of how he acts in this episode. But in the end, it feels weird to me that he's in it, and I have a feeling if I watched the show again, I wouldn't find any of his parts in the show funny. I also think episode 5 kind of dragged as well. It's this whole wild goose chase, and it doesn't lead to anything crazy except at the end that he finds out the audition got moved up for Wonder Man, so he has to go through it with no sleep, which is explored in the next episode, which is really good. I mean, I get why episode 5's in there, and it's fine for what it is, and it does what it's supposed to do, but overall, it just kind of dragged. Not as bad as episode 4, but still kind of dragged a little bit. Something that was a mixed bag for me was the minimal amount of superpowers in the show. I talked about it earlier as a positive, which I do think it's an overall positive, but I did want to talk about why I kind of mixed on it. I mean, it definitely works for the show because of the style that it's trying to go for, but I feel you could take the superpowers away and the show wouldn't change a ton. I just wish I had a few more superpowered scenes, but I don't care as much because of how good the story is, and that's the main focus overall. It provides us great moments throughout the show without Simon having to use his superpowers. So, I mean, obviously, I feel like if he had more superpower moments, I really did enjoy those moments. So overall, I feel like if I would have enjoyed the show maybe a little more if he used his powers just a little more. I don't need an overuse of powers or a big CGI battle at the end, so don't hear me say that. But overall, I had mixed feelings about the whole very little superpower included thing. I feel like it's a more positive than a negative for the show as a whole because of just what it's going for. Overall, the show was a pleasant surprise from Marvel, and I hope we get more of Simon and Trevor and their duo and relationship in the future of the MCU. I feel like now they have established a solid foundation for the characters, so then it'd be a good idea to expand more upon him becoming a hero or at least trying to use his powers for good or something like that. But we'll see, because I don't think he'll be in any future MCU projects anytime soon. But with that being said, I'd give the show probably a solid 7 out of 10. It's very solid throughout and it's grounded. It switches things up from the classic MCU-isms, and despite the slight drop in the middle of the show, it still delivers a show that satisfies me and provides me with a good time while watching. So what did you guys think of Wonder Man? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? And if you enjoyed watching, please consider dropping a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.